Okay, so I got the Snyder Cut picture still up there. Justice League still up there. ScytheX, GG, man, and I see you're playing Miles Morales. I platinumed that game on PlayStation 5. Phenomenal game. One of the best Marvel games that's come out. One of the best superhero games that's come out. And I really hope Gotham Knights, I know it was delayed to 2022. I hope it does the Arkham series justice on the next-gen systems. Although I really want another Batman Arkham game. Yes, I did platinum it. That was my first ever platinum on any system, and my first specific platinum on PlayStation. And that was the first game I played for the PS5, and I platinumed it. I'm working on Astrobot or Astro's Playroom now. All right, so let's get into some Snyder Cut Justice League. What I kind of want to do is I want to talk about some of the differences that I feel just make it so much better. I want to go character by character, and then I have a bunch of clips that I want to go over too. Scythe says, I got discouraged when I found out a trophy needed was doing the game over in a new game plus. Honestly, you'll see. I don't know how far you are in the game. It's not a long game. Once you beat it the first time, remember that a big part of the padding of the first game is doing like the side missions. There are moments when you're playing through it the first time where they're going to tell you that, oh, you might as well go around the neighborhood. And when you play through the second time, you can kind of fly through those things. So don't get discouraged. It really doesn't take that long. I was able to do it probably in about 2 weeks, and I don't play games as much as I used to. So if I could do it, you could definitely do it. One thing I will tell you though, no, I don't want to spoil it for you, so move on. I'm going to move on to the Justice League. I don't want to spoil the game for you. Let me know when you get towards the science fair. That's what, and I'll give you a little hint so you don't have to go back and do it again. All right, so let's go. We're gonna go item by item, and we're gonna check this out. So first, let's go with the characters. All right, let's see who comes up first on my little list here. So we got Cyborg. So this, to me, is one of the biggest reasons. Probably one of the top 3 reasons why the Snyder Cut is better than the Whedon Cut. In the Whedon Cut, not only do you get no backstory of Cyborg, you're told quickly that his father, was afraid that he was going to die, so he used the one of the mother boxes to, basically give him his body back and give him his life back. And that's really it. You hear nothing else. You get very little interaction between father and son between that one conversation where essentially you get the feeling that Cyborg is a little upset with his dad for bringing him back to life. You don't really know why he's upset with his dad for bringing him back to life. Why wouldn't he be happy? And that's really it. Otherwise, Cyborg kind of comes around, excuse my language, as a whiny little bitch. And ScytheX says, bro, my man Ray got shafted. After watching this movie, I 100% agree that Ray Fisher got fucked. There is zero reason that I can think of that they didn't include at least some of his story in the original theatrical release. He was very much the heart of the movie. Without him, then you were missing a big chunk of why everyone was fighting. And why, he seemed like such an important part of the marketing when the trailers were coming out. You get more of an explanation of his powers for those of us that read the comic books. I know the comic books. We knew what he was capable of. But in the theatrical release, all you know is that he's essentially a cyborg, just like his name. You have no idea where his powers come from. And even further, it seems like he's not in control of his powers. Every scene you see where he's shooting or whatever, it looks like he's fighting against his own programming or his own body, and it kind of keeps you disconnected from the character and from the story. And Scythe says makes you think about why he's fighting WB so much. I 100% agree. I mean, I won't say that I thought that he was lying when all this stuff first came out, but it did almost sound to me more or less like he was kind of like just a little upset that his part got cut, and it almost seemed like he was lashing out. But after watching this, man, I mean, you can really understand. It's hard not to sympathize with him. They cut out so many things. The backstory of him and his mom getting in the car crash right after his mom's trying to defend his father, who clearly is an absentee father. The fact that his father essentially cared about work more than him, gave him this power and was trying to make amends, but really just didn't know how to do it. The whole scene when they're breaking into Star Labs, which, for the record, did they even call it Star Labs in the theatrical version? I don't think so. But his father, when they're breaking into Star Labs, his father sees him and just immediately gets his back and covers for him. The fact that his father is the reason that they were even able to find Steppenwolf at the end of the movie for the final fight and the final showdown. Like, so many major things happened surrounding this character. I will say I enjoyed the visual that they chose for being kind of inside Cyborg's head while he's manipulating things. It's kind of a cool idea to think that, he can almost kind of go back to the way he used to be before having the body while manipulating, machines and all that stuff. The whole idea of the Trinity or the three mother boxes kind of trying to trick him by showing him his parents and giving him an illusion. It kind of screamed to me Suicide Squad when what's her name, the witch lady, tried to show them all a vision of what their lives could be. However, it was done so much better here. By the end of it, the emotion is there. You really feel when he says, "I am not broken," and he starts separating the Trinity. I was just like, I was into it. I had chills. I'm getting chills now. It was just so well done. And Ray Fisher, man, I don't, at this point, I guess WB is never going to bring you back to play Cyborg, but I would love for a hashtag bring back Ray Fisher to form. And honestly, DCEU needs to sign with another production or another Hollywood studio, because WB keeps getting involved, and you got to just step back and just let these guys freaking do their thing, man. They're really fucking it up by getting involved so much, and it's ridiculous. But Cyborg, man, if anyone had DC might be a Disney property site. You're absolutely right. I know Disney is looking into putting a bid on DC Comics, but it's not a far stretch to go from DC Comics to the DC movies. And if they do that and they brought him back, I mean, they would win all the fanfare in the world, and they would deserve it, to be honest, because he deserves it. After the theatrical version, I remember thinking to myself, like, there's no way I'm going to care about a Cyborg movie. And after watching this version, I'm now upset that we're not going to get that Cyborg movie. That's how good he was in this movie. And just for the record, it's a 4-hour movie, and not once did I find myself looking at my phone. I didn't find myself bored. I found myself smiling at scenes that I thought I would, I kind of saw already. I found myself getting chills at moments that I was kind of like surprised about, which I'll get into a little bit later. But man, Cyborg probably had the biggest, him and Steppenwolf had the biggest improvements from movie to movie, hands down. So Cyborg, man, you get an A+ in my book for this movie. ScytheX says the scenes we saw already actually made fucking sense this time. That is absolutely true, man. They all made sense. They all felt organic and natural. Not once did I kind of go, what the... Well, I can't say not once, because there was one scene, which I'll show later, that I did kind of question. But for the most part, it was, I would say 99% of the scenes were phenomenal. All right, so next up is The Flash. So really, The Flash didn't get much of a change. He's still the comic relief character. I'm sorry, I can't say he didn't get much of a change. I would say 50% of him changed. He's still the comic relief character, still seemed like he was the youngest character of the group and the most eager to kind of join the group. But what they did change had such an impact, and again made me almost excited for a Flash movie, specifically if it's Flashpoint. One thing that I might just skip and just show you the scenes I'm talking about, but Joss Whedon made this decision, or the studio made this decision, to take the Flash and make him a rookie. So in the first battle, when they first face Steppenwolf, and it's Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Flash. Aquaman hasn't joined yet, and Superman obviously hasn't joined yet. Flash says to Batman, like, "I've never really fought anybody before. Like, I've just kind of pushed people and run away." Funny scene, funny little comment, and I guess it was meant to put Batman in the leadership role. And he says, "Save one person, and then you'll know what to do." So you see Flash run in, save somebody, run out. Then the next thing you know, Flash, goes to basically, pushes Wonder Woman's sword back to her, and then trips over his own 2 feet. He's gone. In the final battle with Steppenwolf, the Flash, again, he's the Flash. Faster than everybody there. This is before Superman joins. You would think that he'd probably be one of the more powerful people against someone like Steppenwolf. But instead, he, again, is relegated to saving people. He drops off Cyborg. He runs just through a bridge, really, and you kind of see him quickly knock off some parademons. And then he saves one truck of people. Not only does he save one truck of people, he's sent to save them by Batman. And minutes later, we see he still hasn't gotten there because apparently he got lost. And then the last thing we see is he wants to race Superman. Superman says, let's go to, I think, the Pacific Ocean. Flash turns the wrong way. Like, this was supposed to be a superhero. You know what I mean? This is supposed to be somebody with some big powers. The change they made in the Whedon cut, in the Snyder cut, he's still quirky, still funny, and has his little moments. Still kind of geeky when he sees the Bat Cave and all that stuff. But now he's been doing it for a while. And I'm going to actually just show you the scenes because I got to just kind of show you these scenes. It's definitely worth it. Let me turn off this picture here and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see. Flash fighting in the Whedon. This is the Flash fighting during Joss Whedon's Snyderverse. Or Justice League movie. He saves somebody. That's it. Then he runs away. He's all nervous and jittery, and he just looks like a child. That's it. Now let's see what he does in the Snyder movie. This is the first one. I mean, how badass is that? Then he just launches this guy through a door. That's amazing. And let's look at this one. This is one of the best scenes in the whole movie, I think. Look at this. This is the Flash. This is what we should have been seeing, and this is what makes me excited for his movie. Like, blocking all that debris, how amazing is that scene? I don't like that he missed this last one. Again, he's faster than the speed of light, essentially, right? So he should be able to, even if he realizes he missed one, he should have been able to get it, but I'll excuse it because the rest of it was awesome. All right? And like that is not what we got. I'm going to leave that one up because that's just cool. And what we got is the Flash trying to save somebody. That's what we got. Let's do a side-by-side so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Oh, shit. This is what happens when I do things live, huh? Sorry. Let me fix that real quick. Like, it's just, it's night and day different. And then ScytheX says my favorite Flash moment besides the end. I'm going to get into that scene later, but 100%, he might have the best moment of the entire friggin' movie at the end of the movie for multiple reasons that I'll get into when I get to that clip. But, you know, right here, you can just see a difference. The Flash on the right, or, the Whedon version, the one over here. Where am I at here? This one right here is quirky, nerdy Flash who hasn't fought before. This one right here is, I've been doing this for a while, you know, step off, I got this. And on top of that, besides the fact that he was just cooler in the new one, he also, Wolfpack Comics says, unfortunately, AT&T owns Warner Brothers and by extension DC Comics and DCEU. Doubtful will turn anything over to another studio. I fully understand that, but you know, Disney right now is a monster, so you know, money talks, and I feel like, you know, if they offer enough money, they could buy the DC Comics for sure. I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing if they were to buy DC Comics, because you do want that competition. So you know, I'm not going to sit here and fight for or against one or the other, but you know, I just don't want to. I never say never. You know what I mean? ScytheX, I don't know if it bothers you, but I still think he needs his yellowish lightning, and I hate the white lightning. Defeats the symbol on his chest. I understand that sentimentality, but it doesn't bother me too much. You know, for me, I almost feel like, what if the whole point, again, Zack Snyder was trying to tell this story over multiple movies. What if the whole point is he kind of develops the yellow lightning by the end of his Flashpoint movie? I do think DC would be smart to use Flashpoint to reboot some of the characters, almost like start fresh and keep the continuity a little more controlled, which I believe they announced. So I'm looking forward to that. But now, you know, they got to deliver. I want to see these movies. You know, it's like we go so long with no news on any of these movies, and then suddenly we're supposed to just be happy when something comes out. But the last thing I wanted to say on The Flash before I move on to the next character is Kathleen Kennedy can run the DCU Wolfpack Comics. Kathleen Kennedy can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. You know, I'm sure at some point it's going to come out that she was racist or something, and we have to cancel her. But for right now, whatever she announces, I'm into it. So the last thing I want to say about The Flash before I move on is that one thing I love is that he's a lot more urgent and a lot more. You don't need to tell him to do things. And I noticed when I was watching this movie, the first thing I thought about The Flash was that there's no one telling him, you know, save a person or go over here and do this. It's just like he just does it. He knows what he's got to do. And again, it's clear that he's been doing this for a while, and he just kind of jumps right in and he's eager to go. So good for The Flash. I'm going to get into my favorite scene of the movie, my two favorite scenes of the movie towards the end, but The Flash gets a big thumbs up from me. Next on my list is Superman. So Sorry. So I have here the Whedon Superman in the blue and red tights and the Snyder Superman in the black tights. Now, before I get too crazy about this, I do want to say I have one issue with the black Superman costume, and that is they never explained why. It looks amazing. It looks awesome. I've never been a big fan of Superman anyway, but part of it is the blue and red outfit just seems very basic, and I don't know, it just doesn't. It just looks like a child's costume for the most part. I like the black and gray. I think it looks cool. I thought it looked great in action in the movie. But now, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure in the comics, the black costume was essentially meant to be an outfit that allows him to heal faster. That, you know, they didn't say if it was his father's suit. At least if they did, I missed it somehow, but I don't think they said anything. All you saw was he's walking through his Fortress of Solitude, or the Kryptonian ship, his ship, and he looks at all these suits that pop out, looks off in the corner of the screen, and there's a suit there. But I didn't catch if they said what the suit was for. It would, if it was his father's suit, that would make sense. It'd be a good connection to the Man of Steel. But I didn't catch that. If that's the reasoning. Otherwise, that's really my only complaint. Otherwise, he was essentially the same character. They didn't change too much about him besides, you know, his lip actually didn't look fake as shit like it did in the first one. They didn't say it, but I felt like with him wearing both dads in the ship, maybe he learned that way. Or hearing both dads in the ship, maybe he learned that way. ScytheX says that could be. And now that you're saying it, I'm actually thinking that might be the connection that we were meant to make. I didn't read it anywhere, so I'll look it up. But in my head canon, I'm going to say that is the connection because it just makes more sense to me. And at least it gives some sort of a backstory to the reason why he wears the black instead of the blue and red, which he already had on. But so let's get into some of the clips I have for Superman because overall his character didn't change much. But a few of the things that did change that I feel like, again, these are the reasons why this movie made so much more sense. The intro of the movie. Let's close this so I can pull up the other video. The intro of this movie. First, let's go to the intro of the Whedon movie. You get the terrible CGI lip. Because, you know, in 2018 when this came out, 2017, we apparently couldn't remove a mustache from someone's face with the amount of freaking money that was put into this movie. That annoyed the crap out of me. And then, oh wait, did I put the intro for Snyder? I don't think I did. So I love the intro to this movie, which I don't have the clip for, unfortunately. Where you essentially see in slow motion Superman getting stabbed to death by Doomsday in Batman vs Superman, and his final screams essentially reverberating over the earth, waking up the mother boxes, and that's what alerts Steppenwolf to their presence here on Earth. A much better way of tying into Batman vs Superman, and at least it gave us somewhat of a decent payoff to rushing the Superman's dead storyline. I hated that Superman was killed in Batman vs Superman. In the comic books, he fights tooth and nail and gives his life before he dies. In the movie, he just jumps in with a spear and dies. Like it did not land for me. I hated it. I don't understand, why Zack Snyder felt that they had to kill him so quickly. It really bugged me, and I was glad that Zack Snyder took this chance to essentially redo that moment and give it a lot more meaning. I don't think it really hit home before that how much his presence on Earth mattered. And that one visualization of his voice and his scream kind of just moving through the atmosphere or whatever gave it so much more weight. And again, like I said before, a good sequel makes you want to watch the ones that came before and you see them in a new light. And that's one of the reasons why this movie hit that point home for me, because I want to go watch Batman vs Superman again, and that whole sacrifice at the end is going to just feel so much more heavy and so much more important knowing how this movie starts. So that's awesome. One of the other things that they did better. So let's take a look at what happens when Superman returns in the Whedon cut. So, and this was one of the better scenes of that movie, but it almost feels rushed. And what I didn't like when they coming to this conclusion in the Whedon cut was that it was really just an argument between Batman and Wonder Woman, and it was like Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash didn't really matter. And I like how in this movie, essentially they all come to the conclusion together. One of the Flash's best lines is when he says, "I know I'm thinking it. Do I have to say it out loud?" And then Cyborg just shows the image of Superman after explaining how the mother boxes work. Again, Scythe, earlier you said that things made sense. That's one of the things that made sense. It was a much more organic scene. They came to the conclusion of bringing Superman back in a much more organic way, and it was a million times better. Now, while I'm playing the Whedon version of Superman, of Evil Superman, I guess I'll call it, I'm going to put up the Zack Snyder version of Evil Superman, because this was even more badass. First, you get like Superman actually doing evil shit, which to me makes a lot more sense. He came back in the first one and just kind of looked a little like maybe he had to take a shit. In the new one, he's actually trying to kill people. Luckily he didn't actually kill anybody, but that's, I think, a big difference. But one of my favorite scenes, one of my probably top 4 scenes in the new version, is when he starts walking towards Batman. So you could see on the left here, that on the Whedon version, he sees Batman, and then he basically has to get through Wonder Woman before he can get to Batman. All right, fine. It was an okay scene. But if you look at the Snyder version, now he's got to get through everybody. And this scene with Cyborg here is cool, but specifically when the Flash tries to rush him, and he just kind of gives him a quick sidestep, and then uses the Flash to take out Aquaman. I mean, just a cool scene. And you'll also notice on the Whedon version, he basically knocks Batman into the cop car, and then Batman asks Alfred to send in Lois Lane. Lois Lane had nothing to do in the original movie, and in this one, she chooses to go there by herself because she's going to visit his memorial on her own. She happens to be in the area, and it just gives her a lot more urgency and agency when she shows up on her own and is able to essentially save Batman. That is a much bigger difference. The scene is a little longer, but it's much more intense. And the fact that Superman actually hits Batman with the eye lasers, and Batman luckily just developed those gauntlets that can absorb energy, that's what saves his life. I mean, it fits more thematically in with the movie, and it really is just a much better scene for it. So, that was good. Shows up after a friendly visit from MM. Yeah. I don't agree with you, Scythe, on the Martian Manhunter. I think the design was right, and I think the design could look cool, but to me the visuals felt like a rush job, and I think that it was almost like a last minute addition. I know that Snyder wanted to put in Jon Stewart's Green Lantern at the end of the movie, and I don't know, I felt like it was unnecessary. We didn't need to have the Martian Manhunter show up, and to me it ruined the scene with Martha Kent and Lois Lane by finding out that wasn't really Martha Kent. I wasn't a huge fan of that. It's one of the things I got to disagree with you on. Another thing about Superman, going back to Superman, is when he returns. So I want to take a look at when he returns in the Whedon version. Let me find the video. Here we go. Superman Returns. This was the way he comes back in the Whedon version. I guess this, it fits Joss Whedon's style, and it's more of the classic, like, jokey kind of Superman. He throws that punch, then he kind of zooms in, he goes in slow-mo. Okay, great. But the Snyder version of Superman Returns, I mean, how badass is that? Catching the freaking axe on his shoulder, not impressed. Using the ice breath here to actually freeze it and destroy the axe. This is just infinitely better. Nightbot time now. Oops, Scythe. I don't know what happened there. But yeah. Oh, freaking Superman's return. To me, this is where the black suit makes him look just badass. Freezing that axe, smashing it, and then floating up and kicking Steppenwolf into the wall is just awesome. The Superman's whole fight with Steppenwolf at the end is much better, and I just think that overall his character was better, not because they changed the character around too much, but more because they just gave him more to do. And he wasn't just there to like save the day at the end. He was there to actually be a part of the team. Even at the end when they're fighting Steppenwolf and they beat Steppenwolf, it's not so much about, Superman's stronger than him so he can win. It's more about we have to work together in order to get this fixed. So that's really my take on Superman. Next on my list is Batman. So again, the character overall wasn't changed too much. It's really more about his motivations changed. So I think either in both movies, he's supposed to be trying to make amends for essentially being the reason that Superman died. If he wasn't so focused on killing Superman, then maybe they could have stopped Lex Luthor and prevented Doomsday from showing up or being created. In the Whedon version, he tells a lot more jokes. He's kind of a little giggly, I guess, and in this one he's much more serious. The fact that in this one he's much more serious, more focused, and more determined to essentially give everybody the tools they need to do what needs to be done makes him automatically kind of raise the stakes of the movie. He doesn't have time to kind of joke around like everyone else does. I did think it was pretty interesting. The whole final battle at the end kind of plays out the same with Batman. He comes in to take down the dome. But again, he gets a lot more involved. And it really leads to one of the scenes that I cannot believe was cut. And I'm talking Joss Whedon, WB. How could they think that they come up with a better option? So Whedon is pretty much the guy known for hero shots in the Avengers, right? The first Avengers had the hero image of the camera panning around the Avengers, and it was the image used basically for an entire phase 2 of the Avengers, of the MCU. This is what Joss Whedon gives us in his version of Justice League. They land, and they all kind of step out of the ship together. Like, okay, when I first saw it, it was like, oh, it's cool to see all these guys together and all the different colors and blah, blah, blah. But it's really nothing. But now let's take a look at Snyder's hero shot. Let's get to it. Oh, no, did I not put the video up here? Okay, I gotta get this video for you guys because it's worth it. But Zack Snyder, he came up with the hero shot that to me was 17 million times better than what Whedon did, and I can't understand how anybody could have looked at the two options essentially and chosen what Whedon did. This one is a million times better. Let's see. No, that's not it. Here we go. I mean, tell me that you don't think this is a much better hero shot than what Whedon did. This is right after essentially they save Batman because they think he's going to die. And then you get this shot of the Batman in the Batmobile, all the heroes there fighting with him in slow-mo. That little shot right there gave me goosebumps more than anything in the Whedon version of this movie. I don't understand how somebody could have seen this and said, nah, it doesn't really fit. Maybe we should get rid of this. It's a million. You said it. You said it before me, Scythe. It is a million times better. Otherwise, motivations is really kind of the key for the entire Snyder version of this movie. Everyone's motivations just made more sense. Batman was more motivated by guilt. Wonder Woman was more motivated by knowledge. The Flash is more motivated by his experience. Cyborg is more motivated by trying to save his father or do right by his father. It's just Aquaman is more motivated because because he wants to. He basically is starting to develop his respect for Atlantis, even though he's not king yet. Speaking of Aquaman, His character didn't change much. It's a little less of the surfer kind of, my man kind of character. Otherwise, he still has the same moments. Like I said before, I think him sitting on the lasso could have been kept in this movie, and it would have just kind of added to the. It would have been like a lull before the storm. Everyone kind of giggles before they go for the final battle. So there's not much to say about him. It's really the same. Same thing with Wonder Woman. The added stuff they gave her was pretty much that they showed us how she knew so much about Steppenwolf and what was coming. They use her to give us a better battle scene with Ares and what's called Zeus and the Green Lantern. You see that's the first intro to Darkseid fighting the old Age of Heroes. It's a much more brutal scene, a much more violent scene. And it goes on for maybe, I think, about double the length of the flashback in the first one. But it really establishes Darkseid as a presence before we realize that he's still in the picture in this movie. It gives a better hint to what the Green Lanterns would look like. It gives you a better idea of some of the older heroes that we could see in Shazam movies and just other movies. It was a much cooler scene, established better stakes. Again, I don't understand how somebody could see it and say we didn't want to keep it. Speaking of Steppenwolf and Darkseid, so I'm going to put them both up here because they both kind of belong together. And speaking of motivation, so I said before, motivations really informs a lot of what makes this movie better. And Steppenwolf, in my opinion, gets one of the biggest bumps from that. In the first one, he essentially looked like shit. And in this one, he looks way more intimidating. The CG just looks better. And just for the record, it's not just about the way he sounds or the way he looks, but it's how he moves. In the new one, he's more of an unstoppable force. He fights his way through the Amazons. They do everything they can to try and stop him, and they just cannot stop him. By the time he gets that first mother box, he feels like way more of a threat than he ever did in the Whedonverse. In the Whedonverse, it's like you always kind of knew he was going to win, he was going to lose. And in this one, you kind of thought, I could see how this guy might win. You understood why he was feared. The whole armor kind of moving around a little bit when they first revealed it, I thought it was a little cheesy looking, but then in the fight with the Amazons, they're hitting him with bows and arrows and spears, and it's like a pincushion instead of just bouncing off of him, and it just makes him, and he doesn't stop, and it just makes him look so much more vicious. And then just by almost like flexing, he basically just knocks all of them out, and you're just like, damn, this guy's it's going to take a lot to stop him. But again, going back to the motivations, you find out that in this one, he's not even the guy that you have to worry about. He's fighting for the guy you have to worry about. The same way Loki basically answered to the Chitauri, and then they answered to Thanos. He was answering to Desaad, who was then basically, as far as you know, relaying the message to Darkseid. The idea that he was almost like the pathetic one, and this is how tough he was, versus before when you thought he was the world ender and all that kind of crap, it made him much more sympathetic, but also much more scary, because you felt that he would do whatever he had to do to get planet Earth. Especially once Darkseid said, if you get me the anti-life equation, I will let you back into my good graces. And then speaking of Darkseid, talk about intimidating. We saw very little of him, and yet, for me, the perfect scene is at the end when they finally beat Steppenwolf and the portals open and Darkseid's standing there, and I'll show that scene in a second. And you got Superman and Justice League standing there, and Darkseid doesn't even flinch. He's just looking right at them. Like, it doesn't look like he's scared at all. It doesn't look like he's nervous. Like, that scene to me was like, damn, I want to see a movie where Darkseid is the bad guy. Like, that alone made him as intimidating as Thanos when he grabs the gauntlet and says, fine, I'll do it myself. I really will go on record at saying that if WB took the time to do each character's movie, don't change Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and what Zack Snyder wanted to do with Justice League, but instead give us a Flash movie, an origin movie, give us the Aquaman, the Wonder Woman, and then do this Justice League. We would have sat in a theater for 4 hours watching this movie, and this would have been as big Maybe not as big as Avengers Endgame, because I don't feel like we're going to be getting to that kind of level anytime soon for any property right now. But this would have been their Avengers. This 100% would have done phenomenally, and we would still be working with Zack Snyder in the DCEU. I know he left this movie for personal reasons, but they clearly took the chance the moment he left to change everything he wanted to do for the movie. And just Darkseid and Steppenwolf's just them in this movie alone and the improvement that he gave those two characters, hands down, I would have been excited for a Justice League 2 or a follow-up or somehow or something. And honestly, I see that the hashtag Restore the Snyderverse is trending on Twitter. I fully agree. I want to see him do more movies, and I want to see what he would have done with Darkseid. I know you can read about what he would have done. He's been very detailed about it. It sounds interesting. It sounds different. I want to see it come to fruition. Even if they do an animated version, but just take what he was going to do and do an animated version to extend the story, or a comic book or something. I'm interested, and I want to see it. And then speaking of the scene that I was talking about that I love so much, is it this one? Nope, that's Whedon's Steppenwolf ends. I'm not even that interested in that. Let's look at Snyder's. This is the scene I'm talking about when, at the end here, this is the when Steppenwolf loses. This is way more badass than just being scared and eaten alive by his own parademons. This was awesome. Just seeing Aquaman stab him was good, but then seeing the follow-up with Superman and now seeing Wonder Woman cut his head off, I mean, talk about cathartic. This is what you want to see, and this is the kind of stuff that separates DC from the MCU. If they kept this stuff in there, then you can have two separate universes of comic book movies, and there's room for both. Both of these would be making tons and tons of money. But this right here, Darkseid, doesn't even flinch, steps on his head and squishes it, and then stares down the people that just killed Steppenwolf. Like, how do you see this and not go, I want more of that? I want more. I want to see Justice League 2 or Justice League 3 or whatever Snyder has it planned. This is so much better. In my opinion, this is the number 2 scene of the movie. The number 1 scene is coming next. This is the number 2 scene. Now I'm going to go to the number 1 scene. This is, again, how would somebody look at this and say, nah, I don't want to leave this in the movie. This is the number 1 scene right here. And ScytheX, you know where I'm going with it. As far as we know, heroes are going to win the day. Cyborg's about to separate the Unity. Flash gets shot out of nowhere and doesn't get there in time. And because of that, the Unity combines, or the mother boxes combine, and this happens. They win. I was not expecting this at all. Steppenwolf wins, but this is an experienced Flash. Instead of panicking and running away or whatever, he would have done in the Whedon version, he immediately goes into freaking super speed and tells himself, you need to break the rule. You need to time travel. We need to undo this. I mean, when this was happening, this was 1 a.m. for me, and I was sitting up, or no, it was probably maybe 12:30 a.m. I'm sitting at the edge of the couch, staring at the screen, chills up my arms. This was such a great scene. I will say, ScytheX, you kind of mentioned this in your review too. I do not like the run. I know there was a reason for it, something about like speed skating or speed running or whatever it was. The way he just kind of runs and just kind of throws his arms, like, it looks so silly to me. But at this point, I did not care. I was so into this scene, watching the ground kind of rebuild as he's starting to reverse time, seeing like the light almost shoot back into the lamps was just cool. To me personally, I felt like him almost like talking to himself and just kind of saying, Dad, I want you to know, no matter what happens, I was one of the good ones. I was one of the best. That to me was kind of Snyder writing from his daughter, kind of channeling his daughter and kind of speaking to her and speaking to himself as her. So it was like emotional for me. I was like sitting there. I was like shivering with excitement. This just looks good. They clearly spent so much time and money on this scene. I was so into this. And again, how can how can you tell me that Joss Whedon or some executive at WB saw this and was like, whoa, 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 no, 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 we don't want this. That this isn't what we want. Instead, we want make sure the Flash goes out and saves one family from in a truck. He just pushes the truck, and then him and Superman kind of make it a game while they're in the middle trying to save the world. And Superman saves a building of people while Flash saves four people and a couple two adults and a kid or two kids. Like this scene here when he's finally getting to Cyborg and you see Superman and Cyborg kind of rebuild. You see their skeleton for a second, all the muscles and tissue form, and then he touches Cyborg and sends him into the mother box. I mean, just freaking good. This was such a phenomenal scene, dude. ScytheX, Avengers was great. I do agree with you. You said it in your review that Age of Ultron was garbage, but I guess he knows how to write an ensemble movie, but it's a moot point anyway because he's apparently a big asshole and he's been a big asshole for a long time that had a lot of people helping him out. So this scene was amazing, and I just don't understand why they would change this. It was such a good scene. And then I think that is pretty much it. Did I touch on everybody? I don't remember if I touched on everybody. Yeah, that's it. That's everybody. I mean, so really, that's my whole list. Those are the reasons why this movie is worth watching, why I'm going to watch it again the entire 4 hours, and why it was hands down better than the Whedon cut and the theatrical cut. I've always said Zack Snyder knows how to shoot action, and he clearly knows how to shoot comic books. He does have, I think he uses a little slow-mo a little too much. It's just my opinion, but the whole fight with the Amazonians could have been a lot better if he just cut back the slow-mo a little bit. But otherwise, I have no complaints about this movie. I was, like I said, 4 hours straight. I was into it. I wasn't looking at my phone once. I wasn't bored. It was 1 a.m, and I kind of, when it ended, I wanted more. I will leave with this. I wasn't a fan of the nightmare sequence. I love the story of Injustice where Superman is really essentially taking over the world and Batman is trying to stop him. I like the idea of them doing that in a live action format. I don't like Jared Leto's Joker. No matter what, they could change him a million times, but the laugh is garbage. His voice is garbage. He's not manic enough. I just don't like him at all. The whole scene, it was a cool hearing Batman say, "I will fucking kill you" to the Joker. Sure. We're never going to see it, so what does it do for me? It kind of hinted at things that seemed cool. The fact that Deathstroke gets Bruce Wayne, knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne after he meets with Lex Luthor, and then they see in the nightmare scene that he's actually working with Batman. Yeah, is that interesting? Sure. But overall, I didn't need it. The whole scene with Joker and Batman, clearly they weren't even there together to film it. If you notice every shot, it's Joker by himself, then it cuts to Batman by himself, and they're supposed to be talking to each other. It just screams that, there was a reshoot. They filmed them both, and then they just put it together. I don't know. It was kind of pointless. I don't really like it, and the fact that we're not going to even see the payoff for it anyway is like, what was the big deal? And then the final shot of the movie with Martian Manhunter. First, Scythe, you did say, ScytheX says, "Don't send a boy wonder to do a man's job." Yeah, that was a cool line by the Joker, but it would have been better delivered by somebody who could play the Joker. I would have been more excited if they got Joaquin Phoenix to come back as Joker for that one scene. Then I would be into it. But I'm just not a fan of Jared Leto. I used to think he'd be a great Joker, and he's lost all my confidence as far as that character is concerned. And then, so I was going to say, ScytheX, you mentioned in your review that Ben Affleck clearly lost a lot of his muscle, and for that final scene with Martian Manhunter. Totally agree. You can immediately see the moment he gets out of bed that he's not the same Batman that was in the Justice League movie. But, again, we're getting this like kind of throwaway scene with Martian Manhunter warning about Darkseid, and as of right now, it's not happening. So, again, it just wasn't necessary. The whole last half hour of the movie didn't really need to happen. They really should have ended it after the whole time travel thing with the Flash, and then they show everybody kind of living their life. But yeah, so that's it, man. That's my take. This is just awesome, and I'm gonna go watch it again. Honestly, I really enjoyed it, and but now next time I watch it though, starting tonight probably, I'm gonna do Man of Steel first, then Batman vs Superman director's cut, and then the 4-hour Snyder Cut, just to see how it all ties together. So thank you guys for joining in. Whoever joined in, thanks for the comments. I will be posting this recap, the Theater Room Part 2, full spoilers on the Snyder Cut, onto YouTube later today or tomorrow. I will be back on Sunday with some news. There's already been a few things that I want to kind of chat about briefly on Sunday. And keep an eye out for everyone in the Generational Gaming and Entertainment Network, ScytheX, One Shot, The Captain, myself, Spartacris, gaming throughout the week, streaming on Twitch. I'm trying to post daily on Facebook. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. Let me know if anyone wants more breakdowns like this for future movies and what movies those might be. Next week, I will be talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, Episode 2, Vikings, Season 6, Part 2, Episode 2, and the next Bond movie, which I don't even know which one it is yet, but I'll be talking about that as well, plus anything else that I watched over the weekend. And, yeah, thanks, guys, and I will see you guys next week or this weekend.